Hey coin collectors, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the world of worn out wheat pennies. Yes, those scratched, corroded, and barely legible pennies that still hold surprising value despite their rough condition. We'll be counting down the top 10 bad condition wheat pennies that are still worth something. 1924 wheat penny. The 1924 wheat penny, part of the Lincoln cent series, was minted during a time when America was recovering from World War I and heading toward the Roaring Twenties. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, this coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, making it one of the most iconic designs in U.S. The coinage history. The wheat penny gets its name from the reverse tails design, which displays two wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design was used from 1909 to 1958. Now, 1924 wasn't a year with any particular economic crisis, but it's important to note that mintages were lower that year compared to some other years in the series, which can affect the coin's rarity and value. Let's break that down in more detail. The 1924 wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Let's take a look at their mintages. The Philadelphia Mint, which had no mint mark, produced the most, with over 75 million pennies. The Denver Mint, marked by a D, struck just over 2.5 million pennies, making it far rarer. And finally, the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, produced around 11.5 million pennies. These lower mintage numbers for Denver and San Francisco coins are a key factor in determining their value today. All right, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for: the value of the 1924 wheat penny. Like most coins, the value largely depends on its condition or grade. Let's break it down. Good condition G4. In this condition, the penny will show significant wear, but Lincoln's features in the wheat stalks are still visible. Expect a price of around $0.25 to $1 for the Philadelphia Mint, while the Denver Mint version could go for $20 to $40. Here, Lincoln's features are sharper and the wheat stalks are more defined. A Philadelphia penny could fetch around $1 to $5, while the Denver Mint penny rises to $50 to $100. In this condition, the coin is only slightly worn, with all details crisp and clear. A Philadelphia penny could sell for $10 to $15, and a Denver penny can reach $200 or more. If you have an uncirculated 1924 penny, especially from Denver or San Francisco, you're looking at a significant value increase. Denver pennies in this grade can go for upwards of $1,000, and even Philadelphia pennies could fetch between $50 to $200 depending on the quality. 1935 bad condition wheat penny. The 1935 wheat penny is a part of the Lincoln wheat cent series, which was minted from 1909 to 1958. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, the coin features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, with 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent on the reverse. This design was created to symbolize America's agricultural strength and values. In 1935, America was still recovering from the Great Depression, and these pennies were part of everyday transactions. Over 245 million of these pennies were minted that year at the Philadelphia Mint, which means they aren't considered super rare. But their historical significance makes them a favorite for many collectors. Now, the value of any coin depends heavily on its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, with factors like luster, scratches, and how much of the design is visible playing a major role in the final grade. For a 1935 wheat penny in bad condition, meaning it's heavily worn, with details on Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks faded, the value is significantly lower than one in better shape. So how much can you expect it to be worth? A 1935 wheat penny in poor or bad condition is generally valued at around 3 to 10 cents. Yes, you heard that right, just a few cents, because millions of these coins were produced. Only those in very high grades hold significant value. However, if you're just starting your coin collection, it's still a piece of history that you can own without breaking the bank. But don't let that discourage you. Finding a wheat penny, no matter the condition, is still exciting, especially considering it's nearly 90 years old. Plus, if you have a 1935 penny in higher condition, you could be looking at values upwards of $1 to $5. Even if your 1935 penny is in rough shape, preserving it the right way can help maintain its value. Always handle your coins with care, preferably with gloves, to avoid adding any more scratches or fingerprints. Store them in coin holders or albums to protect them from further damage. 1918 bad condition wheat penny. The 1918 wheat penny, also known as a Lincoln cent, was produced during an important time in U.S. history. The world was in the final stages of World War I, and the United States Mint was working hard to keep up with the demands of a booming economy. The coin's design features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, which was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth. On the reverse, we have the iconic wheat ears representing prosperity and growth, and this design remained on the penny until 1958. In 1918, the U.S. Mint produced over 288 million of these pennies. That's a huge number, and they were struck in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny has no mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia. If there's a small D below the date, it's from the Denver Mint. A small S indicates it was made in San Francisco. Now, let's talk about coin condition. As with most coins, the value of a 1918 wheat penny depends largely on its condition. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch higher prices. However, since we're focusing on a bad condition coin today, what can you expect? If your 1918 wheat penny is heavily worn, has scratches, or other forms of damage, it's considered to be in poor or about good condition. In this state, the value will drop significantly compared to one in better condition. But don't worry, it still holds some value due to its age and historical importance. Let's break down the value. If your 1918 wheat penny is in bad condition, here's a rough estimate of its worth. Philadelphia no mint mark, usually around 10 to 30 cents. Denver D mint mark between 20 to 50 cents. San Francisco S mint mark generally 30 to 75 cents. Remember, these values are based on coins in poor condition. If your penny has severe damage or corrosion, the value could be on the lower end of this range. Although the monetary value of a 1918 wheat penny in bad condition might not be much, the historical significance is where it really shines. Holding one of these coins connects you to a pivotal time in American and world history. This penny circulated during the final year of World War I, through the Roaring '20s and into the Great Depression. 1917 bad condition wheat penny. The Lincoln wheat penny was introduced in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner as a way to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a president on the obverse. By 1917, America was deeply involved in World War I, and pennies like this were a common sight in circulation. This year is significant because it marks the second year that the mint transitioned from the earlier matte-proof style to regular production coins. 3 mints produced the 1917 Lincoln wheat penny, Philadelphia no mint mark, Denver D mint mark, and San Francisco S mint mark. Each penny from these mints carries a slightly different value today, especially when factoring in condition and rarity. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the front or obverse, we have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, with the words "In God we trust" above his head. To the left is liberty, and to the right you'll see the year 1917. The reverse or back of the coin features 2 wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America. This wheat ear's design symbolizes prosperity, which was a key theme during its introduction. Now let's talk about condition. If you found a 1917 Lincoln wheat penny in bad condition, what exactly does that mean in terms of grading? In coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins in good condition G4 will show heavy wear, but the major details will still be visible. If your penny is in fair condition AG3, the details will be very worn down, and in poor condition P1, it's likely just a faint outline of its original design. In bad condition, even if most details are worn, the coin can still hold some value, especially if it's a rare mint mark like Denver or San Francisco. 1935 D bad condition wheat penny. Why is 1935 D important? In 1935, the Denver Mint produced around 47 million Lincoln wheat pennies, which was relatively low compared to other years. While this isn't an extremely rare coin, there are specific factors that can make certain 1935 D pennies quite valuable. Let's talk about the design and key features. On the front or obverse, you'll see President Lincoln's profile, while the reverse displays the iconic wheat ears. Now, while most 1935 D pennies look the same, collectors hunt for certain varieties, especially ones with minting errors. Watch out for these errors. Some common errors include double die obverse, where Lincoln's image or the date appears slightly doubled, and off-center strikes. Coins with these types of errors can bring in a premium price at auction. Now, on to what you've been waiting for, the value. Like all coins, the condition plays a huge role in determining how much it's worth. A typical 1935 D penny in circulated condition might only fetch a few cents, maybe 10 to 50 cents. But if you have a penny in uncirculated or mint state, the value can jump significantly. How much is your penny worth? For example, an uncirculated 1935 D wheat penny can be worth anywhere from $5 to $50 depending on its grade. And if you're lucky enough to own a high-grade penny graded MS65 or above, it could be worth over $100. To get an accurate value, it's important to have your coin professionally graded. The Sheldon grading scale, which ranges from poor P1 to mint state MS70, helps determine a coin's exact condition and value. 1958 bad condition wheat penny. Now, you might be thinking it's just an old, worn-out penny, right? Well, not so fast. Even coins that look rough can hold some surprising value, and today we'll walk you through the history, features, and potential value of a 1958 wheat penny in bad condition. First, let's go back in time. The Lincoln wheat penny, also known as the Wheatie, was minted from 1909 to 1958. The coin was designed by Victor D. Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The front of the coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse shows 2 wheat ears, giving it its name. Now, 1958 marks the final year of the Lincoln wheat penny series before the design switched to the Lincoln Memorial penny in 1959. So it's the end of an era for this coin. So what happens when your 1958 wheat penny is in bad condition? Maybe it's worn, scratched, or even discolored from years of circulation. How does that impact its value? The condition of a coin plays a huge role in its value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A bad condition penny like this one might fall into the good to very good category, where significant wear is visible. But even in this state, it still holds value. Let's talk numbers. A well-worn 1958 Lincoln wheat penny, like this one, typically isn't going to make you rich. In circulated bad condition, these pennies are generally worth around 3 to 10 cents, which is still more than face value. However, if you happen to find one in pristine condition, like an uncirculated or mint state 1958 wheat penny, its value could shoot up to $20 or more, depending on the market. But before you go dismissing your old pennies, here's a tip. There are a few things to keep an eye out for, even in a bad condition coin. 1952_D bad condition wheat penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series, also known as the Lincoln Cent, was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. These pennies were minted for circulation until 1958, when the design changed to Lincoln Memorial Cent. Now, what makes the 1952D unique? The D stands for the Denver Mint, which produced over 746 million of these pennies in 1952. While not extremely rare due to the high mintage, this particular year has piqued the interest of collectors, especially when it comes to condition and errors. Errors are what can make an ordinary penny far more valuable. In the case of the 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny, some known errors include double die averse, where the design is stamped twice, off-center strikes, and filled mint marks, sometimes called bad wheat pennies, because they look imperfect. These imperfections, however, can turn a penny worth only a few cents into a coin worth several $100s, depending on the condition and the error type. If you're lucky enough to find one of these error coins in your collection, hold on to it. It could be worth a lot more than you think. Condition is key when it comes to determining a coin's value. Pennies that have been in circulation for decades will typically show wear and tear, reducing their value, but a 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny in uncirculated or near perfect condition can fetch a pretty penny on the market. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades indicating better condition. For example, a heavily circulated 1952D penny might be worth just a few cents, but an uncirculated version graded at MS65 or higher could be valued at $10 to $50. If it has an error, the value can increase even more. So, what's the value of a typical 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny today? For circulated pennies in average condition, you're looking at a value of around 3 to 10 cents. However, if your penny is in higher grades, such as MS65, expect it to be worth up to $10 or more. Error coins, however, are the real game changers. A 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny with a clear double die error or an off-center strike can be valued anywhere from $50 to over $200, depending on rarity and demand. 1946D bad condition wheat penny. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909, created to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1946, the country was recovering from World War II, and the penny underwent some design changes. The 1946D penny, minted in Denver, was one of the first to be produced after the war, featuring the familiar wheat ears on the reverse side. This design remained in circulation until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. The 1946D penny is part of the wheat series, which has a dedicated following among collectors. Now let's talk about value. The worth of the 1946D penny can vary significantly based on its condition. In good condition, you might find it valued around 2 to 5 cents, while those in better grades can fetch anywhere from 15 to 50 cents. But what if you have a penny in bad condition like this one? Coins that are heavily worn or have significant damage typically see a drop in value. However, even in bad condition, the 1946D penny can still be worth about 1 to 3 cents. Keep in mind, the demand for these coins among collectors remains strong, so even a penny that's seen better days can still hold sentimental value. If you're looking to start or expand your collection, here are a few tips. First, check for key indicators of the coin's condition. Look for visible details like the date, the demint mark, and the wheat ears on the reverse. Even a penny in bad condition can be interesting if it has unique characteristics or historical significance. Consider keeping a record of your coins and their condition, as this can help you track their value over time. Joining a local coin club or an online community can also provide you with valuable insights and resources. 1944 bad condition wheat penny. The 1944 wheat penny was struck during a time when copper was in high demand for the war effort during World War II. In fact, during this year, the U.S. Mint produced 3 different types of pennies: copper, steel, and zinc coated. But here's where it gets interesting. The bad 1944 wheat penny refers to those made of steel instead of the typical copper composition. This is especially notable since steel pennies were only produced in 1943 due to the copper shortage. So how can you identify a bad 1944 wheat penny? Look for these key features. Weight: a regular copper penny weighs 2.5 grams, while a steel penny will weigh slightly less due to the different metal. Color: the copper penny has a reddish-brown color, whereas the steel penny appears gray or silver. Magnetic test: steel pennies are magnetic while copper ones are not. If a magnet sticks to your penny, you might have a steel one. Now let's talk about value. A typical 1944 wheat penny in good condition can be worth anywhere from 10 cents to a few dollars. However, the bad steel version, particularly if it's in uncirculated condition, can fetch a much higher price, up to several $100s. It's crucial to have your coins appraised by a professional to determine their actual worth. Collecting wheat pennies can be both exciting and rewarding. The 1944 bad wheat penny is a fascinating piece for any collector. It represents a unique moment in American history and coinage. 1945 D bad condition wheat penny. Here we have the 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, it might look like just another penny, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. The Lincoln penny was first minted in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner. Fast forward to 1945. The United States was in the aftermath of World War II. This period was marked by significant economic changes, and coins were in high demand for circulation. Now, let's talk about value. The 1945 D Lincoln penny, when found in average circulated condition, is typically worth about 5 to 10 cents. However, if you have one in better condition, say uncirculated, it can be valued anywhere from $1 to $3. And if you're lucky enough to find a coin with a high-grade condition, it could fetch even more. When evaluating the condition of your penny, look for signs of wear. A coin in bad condition might show significant scratches, discoloration, or other damage. Remember, the better the condition, the higher the value. If you're a collector, it's always a good idea to store your coins properly. Using a coin flip or holder will help protect them from further wear and tear, preserving their value for years to come. So there you have it. The 1945 D Lincoln wheat penny is more than just a piece of change. It's a small window into America's past and a potential treasure for collectors. 1985 Washington Quarter. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The original design, created by sculptor John Flanagan, has been a staple of U.S. currency ever since. Over the decades, the design has remained mostly unchanged, featuring Washington's profile on the obverse, while the reverse originally depicted an eagle with outstretched wings. But what about the 1985 Washington Quarter? By this time, the coin had become a workhorse of the American economy. It was minted in huge numbers, with over 775 million coins struck that year. While not a rare year for quarters, there are some interesting details about this specific edition that collectors should know. On the obverse side, we have the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His profile is sharp, with the word Liberty inscribed above, the year 1985 below, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," to the left. This design is simple yet iconic, and it's one that has been in circulation for decades. On the reverse, we see the bald eagle standing proudly with wings spread wide. Below the eagle is a bundle of arrows symbolizing military readiness and olive branches representing peace. Above the eagle is the inscription United States of America with E pluribus unum just below. And of course, the denomination quarter dollar is displayed at the bottom. Now, when looking at the value of a 1985 Washington quarter, it's important to pay attention to the mint mark. These coins were produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia no mint mark, Denver marked with a D, and San Francisco marked with an S. Most quarters from this year were minted at Philadelphia and Denver for general circulation, but there are also proof versions from San Francisco. By 1985, quarters were no longer made from silver. Instead, they were composed of a clad combination of copper and nickel. Each coin weighs about 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a thickness of 1.75 millimeters. This copper-nickel clad composition makes it durable, though not quite as valuable as silver quarters from earlier decades. 1984 Washington Quarter. 1984 was a significant year in American history. The economy was recovering, and Ronald Reagan was in office. The quarter itself hadn't changed much since 1965, when the U.S. Mint stopped using silver and switched to a copper-nickel clad composition. The 1984 quarter is made up of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. Now, let's talk about where these quarters were made. In 1984, Washington quarters were minted at 3 different locations: Philadelphia no mint mark, Denver D mint mark, and San Francisco S mint mark. Here's a breakdown of the mintages. Philadelphia produced over 676 million quarters. Denver produced about 546 million. San Francisco minted proof quarters with just under 3.4 million proof coins made for collectors. Proof coins, like the ones minted in San Francisco, are struck with specially polished dies, giving them a mirror-like finish, making them highly sought after by collectors. So, what is the value of a 1984 Washington quarter today? Well, if you find one in circulation, it's probably worth its face value minus 25 cents. But condition and rarity can make all the difference. For example, a regular circulated quarter from 1984 is only worth face value, but uncirculated ones, especially those in mint state MS65 and higher, can fetch around $10 to $20 depending on the quality. Top tier coins like those graded MS67 by companies like PCGS or NGC can go for over $100. These coins are near perfect with very few imperfections. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, if they're in pristine condition, can also fetch a premium. These proofs can range from $5 to $15 depending on their condition, and if they are deep cameo, which is when the coin has a strong contrast between the frosted design and the mirrored background. 1965 Washington Quarter. However, 1965 was a major turning point for the Washington quarter. Up until 1964, the U.S. mint struck quarters using 90% silver, but by the mid-1960s, silver prices began to rise significantly. To combat the rising cost of silver and a shortage of coins in circulation, the U.S. government made a big decision to remove silver from most circulating coins, including the Washington quarter. Starting in 1965, the composition of the quarter changed to a copper nickel clad, which is what we still use today. So no 1965 quarters contain silver. This change marked the beginning of a new era for the Washington quarter in U.S. coinage in general. Let's take a closer look at the key features of the 1965 Washington quarter. Composition, as mentioned earlier, the 1965 quarter is made of copper nickel, with an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between two layers of copper nickel alloy. It weighs 5.67 grams. Diameter 24.3 millimeters, the same as earlier silver quarters. Design: the obverse side features the iconic bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the words "Liberty" above his head and "In God We Trust" on the left. The date, 1965, appears below his neck. On the reverse side, we have a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings, holding arrows in its talons. Above the eagle are the words United States of America and E pluribus unum, while the denomination quarter dollar is at the bottom. One thing to note is that the 1965 quarter doesn't have a mint mark. This is because in 1965, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding during the coin shortage. Now on to what you're all probably waiting for: what's the value of a 1965 Washington quarter today? While this quarter doesn't contain silver, it still has some value for collectors depending on its condition. Circulated coins: most 1965 quarters that you'll come across in circulation today are only worth their face value of 25 cents, especially if they are worn and show signs of heavy use. Uncirculated coins: if you have a 1965 quarter in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and shows no signs of wear, it can be worth anywhere from $1 to $10 depending on its overall quality. High-grade coins: the most valuable 1965 quarters are those that have been graded as mint state by a coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. High-grade coins in MS65 or better can be worth $25 to $50, with top specimens potentially fetching even higher prices at auction. It's also worth mentioning that if you ever come across a 1965 quarter with a silver appearance, it could be an error coin. A small number of 1965 quarters were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964. These error coins can be extremely valuable, sometimes selling for thousands of dollars. So how do you know if you've found a rare and valuable 1965 quarter? Look for errors. As I just mentioned, the silver error quarters are among the most sought after. If your 1965 quarter looks like it's made of silver, it's worth having it checked by a professional. Condition: always check the condition of your coins. The less wear and tear, the higher the potential value. Coins that have retained their luster and sharp details will typically command a higher price. 1966 Washington quarter. The year was 1966. The United States was in the midst of significant political and cultural changes, but there was also a major shift happening in the world of coinage. The year 1965 marked the end of an era for silver coins. Because of rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint made a crucial decision to remove silver from most circulating coins. The Washington quarter, which had been made of 90% silver up until 1964, transitioned to a copper nickel-clad composition starting in 1965. The 1966 Washington quarter is made of a copper core with a nickel-copper outer layer, often called copper nickel-clad. It weighs about 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 24.3 m. No more silver. Now let's talk about the mintage numbers. 1966 was still part of the coin shortage period, so the U.S. Mint produced a huge number of these quarters to meet demand. In fact, over 821 million quarters were minted in 1966. You may have noticed there's no mint mark on these coins. That's because from 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks on all coins to discourage collectors from hoarding coins during this time of transition. All right, so let's get to what most of you are here for. How much is a 1966 Washington quarter worth? If you have a regular circulated 1966 quarter, unfortunately, it's not worth much more than face value, about 25 cents to 50 cents. Why? Because of the high mintage numbers and the fact that they contain no silver dot. But if you have a high-grade example, say an uncirculated or mint state coin, it can be worth a lot more. Coins graded MS65 or higher by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service PCGS or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation NGC can fetch anywhere from $10 to $50 depending on the market. The record price for a 1966 Washington quarter was a coin graded MS67, which sold for over $2,500 at auction. Those are extremely rare though, and finding one in that condition is like winning the lottery. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Some 1966 Washington quarters can be worth a lot more if they have certain errors or varieties. Some known errors include double die obverse or reverse, where parts of the design are doubled, and off-center strikes, where the coin's image is not centered properly. These types of errors can increase the value significantly, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars depending on the rarity and condition of the error. 1988 Washington quarter. Over the decades, the Washington quarter has become a staple in U.S. coinage. The 1988 edition falls within a period where the design remained largely unchanged, but its value in terms of collecting is what really sets it apart. Let's break down the details. The 1988 Washington quarter features the iconic John Flanagan design with George Washington's profile in the obverse. Above his head, you'll see the word Liberty, and just below, the national motto, "In God We Trust." The mint year 1988 is at the bottom. On the reverse, we have the majestic bald eagle with its wings spread, holding arrows and olive branches, symbolizing both war and peace. The word United States of America arches over the top, with $quarter written at the bottom. Now, let's talk about mint marks. The 1988 Washington quarter was struck at 3 different locations. The Philadelphia Mint No Mint Mark, or AP. The Denver Mint D Mint Mark. The San Francisco Mint S Mint Mark, but this one is reserved for proof coins. Check just to the right of Washington's ponytail for the mint mark. The type of mint mark can influence a coin's value. The 1988 Washington quarter isn't considered rare, but it's still interesting to look at the numbers. Here's the breakdown. Philadelphia Mint 562,052,000 coins produced. Denver Mint 596,810,000 coins produced. San Francisco Proofs 3,262,948 coins produced. These high numbers make the 1988 quarter fairly common in circulation, but special varieties or high-grade coins can still be valuable. 1978 Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, it has become a staple of U.S. coinage. The original design, featuring a profile of George Washington on the obverse front, was created by sculptor John Flanagan. Fast forward to 1978, and while the quarter's design remained mostly unchanged, the composition and production had seen some updates. Most notably, by this time, the quarter no longer contained silver. Instead, it was made of a copper nickel-clad composition dot. Let's talk about the specifics of the 1978 Washington quarter. Here's what you should know. Year of issue 1978. Composition copper nickel-clad outer layer is 75% copper, 25% nickel, inner core is pure copper. Weight 5.67 grams. Diameter 24.3 millimeters. Mint marks, no mint mark. If your quarter doesn't have a mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. If there's a D below the wreath on the reverse, that's from the Denver Mint. 1978 wasn't exactly a rare year for the Washington quarter. Over 520 million were minted in Philadelphia and another 287 million in Denver. So, as you can imagine, finding one isn't too difficult. With such a high mintage, you won't likely stumble upon a rare 1978 quarter in your pocket change. But as with all coins, condition is key, and there are some that hold more value than their face. So how much is your 1978 Washington quarter worth? Well, in general, quarters from this year are still worth just 25 cents in circulated condition. However, collectors are always on the lookout for coins in uncirculated or high-grade conditions. In mint state or MS, graded coins can be worth a little more. Circulated face value 25 cents. MS 63 uncirculated around $3 to $5. MS 65 higher uncirculated grade $10 to $15. Now, these prices can fluctuate based on demand and market trends, but a pristine 1978 quarter graded MS 65 or higher could fetch a decent premium over its face value. 1998 Washington quarter. Before we talk about the 1998 Washington quarter specifically, let's take a quick look back at the history of the Washington quarter series. Introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this quarter replaced the standing Liberty design. The obverse, or front of the coin, features a portrait of George Washington, while the reverse has undergone several changes over the years. But for the 1998 quarter, we're still looking at the classic design before the state quarters program began in 1999. The design by John Flanagan remained largely unchanged until the late 90s when the state quarters program introduced new reverse designs for each state. That means the 1998 quarter was part of the last batch of the classic Eagle reverse quarters. Now let's break down the design of the 1998 quarter. On the obverse, you'll see George Washington's profile facing left. Above him is the word Liberty, and to the left, you have the date 1998 with the mint mark directly below it. The motto "In God We Trust" is also on the left. Turning to the reverse, we have the iconic eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows. The inscription United States of America arcs above the eagle, with E pluribus unum below it. The denomination $quarter is found at the bottom. It's a simple yet classic design that has endured for decades and remained popular with collectors. When it comes to mintage, the 1998 quarter was struck in 3 locations: Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D Mint Mark, and San Francisco S Mint Mark. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 896 million quarters, while the Denver Mint produced around 821 million. These numbers are relatively high, meaning the 1998 quarter is generally common. The San Francisco Mint produced proof quarters, but these are different from circulation quarters. Proof quarters are struck with higher detail and have a mirror-like finish. If you find an S Mint mark, that indicates it's a proof coin, which tends to be more valuable to collectors. 1980 Washington Quarter. The Washington Quarter has been in circulation since 1932, designed to honor the first president of the United States, George Washington, for his 200th birthday. Designed by John Flanagan, this iconic coin features Washington's portrait on the obverse, while the reverse side displays a majestic eagle with outstretched wings. The 1980 Washington Quarter is part of this long-running series, and while it may seem common, understanding its history and key features can help you spot those rare and valuable finds. First, let's talk about mint marks. In 1980, quarters were minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's how to spot where yours was made. No mint mark this quarter was minted in Philadelphia. D mint mark, this one comes from Denver. S mint mark, approved quarter from San Francisco, and these were never intended for general circulation. Now, the Philadelphia and Denver coins are far more common, while San Francisco approved coins are more collectible, but we'll get into values in just a moment. Before we move on, let's take a quick look at what was happening in 1980. This was a year marked by rising inflation, the election of Ronald Reagan as president, and key advancements in technology. The quarter in your pocket was a reflection of the times made from copper nickel, as the U.S. had phased out silver in quarters by 1965. So no silver content here, but that doesn't mean it's not valuable. Now let's talk about what really matters: condition. Like most coins, the value of your 1980 Washington Quarter depends heavily on its grade. Grading is the process of determining a coin's condition from poor to perfect. For circulated quarters, expect wear on Washington's hair, the eagle's wings, and the high points of the design. A quarter in average circulated condition might only be worth its face value minus 25 cents. However, if you have an uncirculated or high-grade specimen, your coin could be worth a lot more. So how much can a 1980 Washington Quarter be worth? In circulated condition, it's typically worth around 25 cents to $1. In uncirculated condition, prices range between $5 and $15. For proof quarters, particularly those from San Francisco with an S mint mark, you could be looking at values between $3 and $10 depending on the grade. High-grade specimens graded by PCGS or NGC, particularly those with an MS65 rating or higher, can sell for $50 or more. 1996 Washington Quarter. The Washington Quarter first made its debut back in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Since then, it's become a staple of U.S. currency. But what makes the 1996 quarter stand out? Well, it comes right before a major turning point in U.S. coinage history, the State Quarters program, which began in 1999. The Washington Quarter's design was originally created by sculptor John Flanagan, and it featured George Washington's profile on the obverse side with an eagle on the reverse. This iconic design stayed pretty much the same until the State Quarters started rolling out. So the 1996 Washington Quarter is among the last in the traditional design series, giving it an interesting place in coin collecting history. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. The 1996 Washington Quarter was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can tell where your quarter was minted by looking for the small letter on the front of the coin, right next to Washington's ponytail. If you see a P, your quarter was minted in Philadelphia, which produced over 925 million of these coins in 1996. AD means it was minted in Denver, which made about 906 million. Finally, an S means the coin came from San Francisco, but these quarters are part of the proof sets with only 2 million proof coins minted that year. Proof coins are special because they have a high-quality finish and were not meant for circulation. They're primarily collected for their stunning mirror-like appearance. Let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse, we have Washington's familiar portrait surrounded by the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the mint year 1996. On the reverse, the eagle is spread majestically, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbols of strength and peace. The words "United States of America" and $quarter are inscribed around the rim. 1998 Dameg Washington Quarter. The Washington $quarter was first minted in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design features a left-facing bust of Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, which has seen various modifications over the decades. On-screen graphics images of the 1932 quarter and the 1998 design. The 1998 quarter was part of the ongoing series featuring this iconic design, which continues to be beloved by collectors. Let's look at the specifics of the 1998 quarter. Minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark; in Denver with D mint mark. Composition 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. Diameter 24.26 mm. Weight 6.25 grams. In terms of value, a standard 1998 Washington quarter in circulated condition typically ranges from 25 to 50 cents. However, if you have a quarter in uncirculated condition, it could be valued at $1 to $2 or more, depending on the market. But wait, what if your 1998 quarter is clipped? A clipped coin occurs when a blank planchet is not properly fed into the coin press, resulting in a piece of the coin being missing. Clipped coins can be quite rare and valuable. A clipped 1998 quarter can be worth significantly more than its standard counterparts, often ranging from $5 to $20 or more, depending on the severity of the clip and the coin's overall condition. To identify a clipped coin, look for irregular edges. Instead of the usual round edge, a clipped coin will have a missing section, often resembling a bite taken out of the coin. You can also compare it to a standard quarter to see the difference in shape. If you're just starting out in coin collecting, here are some tips. Educate yourself, read books, and watch videos about coins. Join a community, engage with fellow collectors online or in local clubs. Handle coins carefully, always hold coins by the edges to avoid fingerprints. This will help you identify details that can affect a coin's value. Thanks for joining us today as we explored the 1998 Washington quarter dollar. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. Do you have any interesting quarters in your collection? Until next time, keep searching for those hidden treasures.